Brown before blue. Shalom, Miss Parker. Shalom, shalom. Appreciate you for joining in with Beyond Babbitt. And this is your host, Brian Anthony Benyai with Beyond Babbitt reporting for duty. Your host, Brian Anthony Benyai with Beyond Babbitt reporting for duty. We're back with another installment of our series on Office of the Prophet. Like I said, this position is going to really elevate and motivate and give knowledge and wisdom and understanding. I pray that all you get some understanding, because this is what's needed in the last days. We've already talked about how Moses said he wished that all men would prophesy, and Paul said that prophecy is the gift that you should covet. We're seeing that levels to the prophecy, and some of the prophets, how they're, were used a little differently than everyone else. And this position has to be everybody. I mean, there's an office of a prophet, and then there's a spirit of prophecy as well. And sometimes the office of a prophet, that person had that gift since birth. And others, they get it later on. But we just talked about Moses, to where he was called when he was 80. So the gift that may have come on him later in life. It may have been the Most High's plan the whole time, but it wasn't divulged. Okay? So we're going to be dealing with David again, the prophet David. So let's turn back to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 22. And again, we're just going to go through the whole chapter. And it says this: David therefore departed thence and escaped to the cave Adullam. And this is where he's escaping. He has now the sword of Goliath, whom he slew as a youth. David had already slew a lion. He had already slew a bear. He was already brave. That's one of the marks of a prophet as well, their bravery. You never really hear of a coward prophet. Prophets' lives are in danger all the time. It's not to say that they don't have instances where they have to flee. But most of the time, they're steadfast and unmovable, fearless. And so let's read that again. 1 Samuel 22 and 1. David therefore departed thence and escaped to the cave Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. And every one that was in distress, and every one that was in debt, and every one that is discontented, gathered themselves unto him. Well, Yahshua say, come unto me, all that are heavy laden and burdened, and I will give you rest. It's like David. When you're overthrowing the powers that be, those who are secured in their positions, cushy, the government is paying them, they're not going to join the rebellion. There's those who've been oppressed, and those who want to see change, those who are ready to rise up to the top, they're going to join. So let's listen to verse 2 again and see who all joined with David, because we know that the prophet Samuel had already anointed David to the last judge, as a matter of fact. Samuel, the last judge, had already anointed David in the spirit world to become king. And they're right now just going through the motions. This is the growing pains before that change, that great change comes. And he has to show what type of character he has during these adverse times. And that'll stick with him when he's in leadership. Verse 2. And everyone that was in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontented, gathered themselves unto him. And he became a captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men. You see what he built his army out of? But they were willing. They were willing. They knew they were out-trained, outnumbered. They were going against a professional army. These were just people who just had enough, but they were willing. And David went thence to Mizpah of Moab, and he said unto the king of Moab, let my father and my mother... Okay, one moment, guys. I'm doing two things at once. Be right back. We'll finish right in a second. Excuse me. All right, guys, we're back, and so here we were. Verse 3. And David went thence to Mizpah of Moab, and he said unto the king of Moab, let my father and my mother, I pray thee, come forth and be with you, till I know what God will do for me. And he brought them before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while that David was in the hold. And the prophet Gad. So the Most High does send prophets to prophets. He does send prophets to prophesy to prophets. We know we have a bunch of what David prophesied in the Psalms, and that's the main thing he's known for writing, the Psalms. David was a musician as well. There are prophets that are musicians. So much so that he played evil spirits out of Shaul. So, there we go. Verse 5. And the prophet Gad said unto David, abide not in the hold, depart and get thee into the land of Judah. Then David departed and came into the forest of Hareth. One thing about a prophet, they know when another prophet speaks to them, they know when to listen. And they know when to talk back. David could have said, I'm so-and-so, I'm this, I'm that. No. He knew when to listen. He knew when it was the Most High. He knew when to shut his mouth. So the Most High sent the prophet to give him instruction. David was the prophet. Why couldn't he just talk to him like that? Sometimes he does. But the Most High is sovereign. He can do what he want to do. If he want to send another prophet to tell you something, he'll do that. If not, he might tell you. If not, he might just show you. And you see it and you got to interpret it. It's a lot of different ways he speaks to the prophets, but he might give you a dream or a vision. Or just, and you're in the spirit, you don't know whether it's a dream or a vision. Okay. Verse 6. When Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men that were with him, now Saul abode in Gibeah, under a tree in Ramah, having his spear in his hand, and all his servants were standing about him. Then Saul said unto his servants that stood about him, hear now, ye Benjamites. Most of his servants were Benjamites. They were cliquish. All the Benjamites stuck together. They were his family. And David was from the house of Judah. Jesse was of the house of Judah. Will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards, and make you all captains of thousands and captains of hundreds? And I ain't finna bribe him. Is he gonna do y'all like this? Because they Benjamites. So he closest, he's showing more favor to the Benjamites. Verse 8. That all of you have conspired against me, and there is none that showeth me that my son hath made a league with the son of Jesse. And there is none of you that is sorry for me, or showeth unto me that my son hath stirred up my servant against me, to lie in wait, as at this day. Now he keep wanting to blame Jonathan, his son. It's not. It's your fault. You were disobedient. It's you. You're the one. Yeah, so what happens is, you lost that anointing, brother. When the last judge, the prophet, and the priest, Samuel, anointed you, you didn't behave right. So the Most High sent him back and take it away and go anoint David. That's what happened. Now you blaming your son and everybody else. No, it's you. Be careful how you carry this priesthood. Verse 9. Then answered Doeg, the Edomite, which was set over the servants of Saul, and said, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob, to Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, and he inquired of the Lord for him, and gave him victuals, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Then the king sent to call Ahimelech the priest, the son of Ahitub, and all his father's house. And all his father's house. You know, when they summon everybody, I mean, everybody's life is on the line. If you tell the truth or not, he may still kill everybody because you're dealing with the enemy. That's how serious of a threat he knew David was now. And all his father's house, the priests that were in Nob, and they came, all of them, to the king. And Saul said, Hear now, thou son of Ahitub. And he answered, Here I am, my lord. And Saul said unto him, Why have ye conspired against me, thou and the son of Jesse, and that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and hast inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me, to lie in wait, as at this day? Then Ahimelech answered the king and said, And who is so faithful among all thy servants as David? You know what I'm saying? He didn't know they was at war. He was like, that's your right-hand man. He the one that you trust to do everything. Which is the king's son-in-law. And that's your son-in-law. You gave him your daughter, Micah, to marry. And goeth at thy bidding, and is honorable in thy house. Did I then begin to inquire of God for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant. Saying, I didn't inquire of God of him. In other words, he trying to tell him David is the prophet. I'm just the priest. But he didn't tell him about the priest Gad. Maybe he's going to tell him about the priest Gad came and just prophesied to him right off the bat. Let not, okay. Did I then begin to inquire of God for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant, nor to all the house of my father, for thy servant knew nothing of all this, less or more. And the king said, Thou shalt surely die, Ahimelech, thou and all thy father's house. So whoever done told the king he inquired for God of him, did him a disservice. The king done pronounced death on this man for something he didn't even do. And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, Turn and slay the priest of the Lord. Turn and slay the priest of the Lord. So the priest's job is not necessarily a cakewalk, guys. But the prophet is much more, his life is always in much more danger than this. But this is all because Prophet Samuel followed the Most High, Yahuwah, and anointed David instead of Shaul. David blaming everybody and everything else. Instead of looking at himself, looking in the mirror, you know. Turn and slay the priest of the Lord, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled and did not show it to me. But the servants of the king would not. They're saying, hold up, king. Hold up. But the servants of the king would not put forth their hand, to fall upon the priest of the Lord. And the king said unto Doeg, Turn thou and fall upon the priest. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the priest, and slew on that day fourscore and 5 persons. 85 people. Doeg had to do it. Nobody else wouldn't do it. That did wear the linen ephod. Lord. And Nob, the city of the priest, smote with the edge of the sword both men and women, children and suckling, and oxen, and asses, and sheep with the edge of the sword. And one of the sons of Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. Saul done went crazy. He done killed all my family. He escaped. He gonna go tell David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priest. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house. In other words, he's saying it's all my fault. It's all my fault. Abide thou with me. See, but he's a stand-up guy. He said, okay, you stay with me then. I'm going to protect you. Abide thou with me. Fear not. For he that seeketh my life, seeketh thy life. But with me, thou shalt be in safeguard. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So sometimes the prophet, because of the prophet's mission, people die. People die. It was the Most High who anointed David to be king. It was the Most High. And because he was seen, all them people died. And David hadn't did nothing. He running from Saul. He went to get some bread, some food, and to get a weapon, just in case. It's the life of a prophet. Office of a prophet. And we see what the Most High will send a prophet to talk to another prophet. And that prophet, most of the time, will listen and heed that prophet. Unless the Most High has told you not to listen to anybody and go to the left or the right. Then if you listen, it's on you. But in this case, the Most High sent the prophet Gad and told him. And it saved his life. So with that said, that's going to conclude this portion of our series of the Office of the Prophet. And again, guys, leave in the comment section what you think about this and which other platforms you'd like to see me on. I have a few in mind, but I'd like to hear what you guys think. And we're going to be making some decisions soon. So with that said, this is your host, Brian Anthony, Ben Yah with Beyond Babbitt, over and out. Your host, Brian Anthony, Ben Yah with Beyond Babbitt, over and out. Shalom. Love y'all. Peace and blessings. Till the next time.